Hi there. I've been past an interesting property from a friend of mine whose family is offloading a portfolio. So this one is 5 bedroom HMO. It's a freehold. It should achieve 12.5% gross yield. It's got 4 out of 5 of the bedrooms rented out. So already it's probably around 10% without the full occupancy. They're looking for 175 grand for this, and they reckon, or at the moment, it's should be renting for around 1650-ish, but that could go up to 1825 or more. So I don't know exactly what rents are for which rooms and so on, but the outline is it's 4 beds at 375 and then one at 325. Now, the 325 room is being rented for 275 because the occupant has been there for some time. I think probably, let's say, more than a few years, which is also a very good sign because if people keep moving on, then it's just a lot of hassle if you're a landlord trying to get new tenants in and so on. So this is a positive thing. I can get a lot more information if you guys are interested in this property. Anyway, let's go and look at some photographs and just generally work our way through this. And what I want to do is talk through demographics, capital growth, the whole thing, so you have a pretty good idea of what's going on with this property. Now, these pictures were taken a little while ago. I don't know exactly when, but the property was renovated as you'll see, and some of the rooms are empty. So these aren't particularly modern pictures, but the property is still in good condition, which is the main point, or a critical point. In other words, it's a buy, don't renovate. Like, I don't think this does need renovation because it's in a reasonably good condition. Anyway, let's just talk through some of the features here. So, this room, medium quality carpets, probably not wool, um, grey, which is actually quite a good color because it doesn't show the dirt. The radiators look okay. It's been set up for HMO because that's a fire door. That's a key code door, so it's got privacy. Downstairs, we've got basically medium quality laminate flooring throughout, and I mean it's just pleasant. Nice high ceilings. Again, very important point. It's been redecorated. It doesn't need any redecoration that I know of. Now, all of this can be confirmed if I get interest from you guys. Now, next thing is, so I think this is the first floor bedroom. It's got this textured ceiling stuff, which I personally dislike, but nevertheless, it's a very common feature in these kind of properties. Nice, nice. This is the rented furniture, by the way. Those drawers, just so you know, if we go back here, a couple of sets of drawers. I think this is a divan, so you could put stuff underneath. Anyway, that's not very important. What's important is that, oops, it's a very tidy property. Just little details, by the way, just to point out. You see the way you don't see much shadowing here? That means the plaster is in good condition. It means it's not plaster and lath. At some point in its history over the last 100 years, it's been done up and the walls are in good condition. Very important little point to make. Anyway, as you can see, pleasant enough. It's nice to see the original details on the ceiling here, and you can see this has been created so that you've got this as a separate room. And again, decent floor plan paneling. Now this one, I'm not sure what the deal is with this carpet. It might need renewing. I can see a big dark patch here. I don't know what that is. Again, if I get interest, then we'll get into all the micro detail as we go. But anyway, as you can see, nice enough place. All the bedrooms are in reasonably good condition. Its bathroom is reasonably good. it's just your typical house of multiple occupation in a not especially prosperous area. But saying that, we'll get into all the demographics in a minute. Now, this is the postcode, and I've got the address 8 Mellor Road. We're going to have a look at that in a minute. It's not on the market. You can see that. So this is genuinely an off-market deal. And if we get into the area, one of the good things about this area is that whilst it's close to the football club, it's not actually on the main thoroughfare. So people who come and go from football matches or whatever are going to go on the main road and not here. And this also bears out when we look at the crime data, which looks pretty reasonable. So it's an area, essentially, it's a area with big houses, got reasonable facilities reasonably nearby. There's a takeaway just a few minutes walk away, and a Tesco Express and so on. So it's a good location, I would say. Now, when we get into demographics, it is, let me just get that thing out of the way so you can see a bit more. Okay, demographics are quite interesting for this. They're actually quite good. Now, overall, when you look at demographics, it's kind of, demographics are kind of relative things. So there is social classification, ABC1, etc. Let's just there you go. So just to explain what you're looking at, not DE means that 72% of the population are upper to lower working middle class, should I say. So social C2 would be administrators, lower level professionals, people like that. DE would be people who don't have consistent income and so on. Now, one of the encouraging things about this area is that the demographics are good all over, and that is a good thing. The other thing that interests me and that I'm happy about from a demographic point of view is that it's a very English-speaking area, which means that you have a big market which you can access because other people who speak English as a primary language would be happy to live around here. It also has a high proportion of rented property or private rented around here, which kind of makes sense. So this is a lot of HMOs, just generally kind of, it's a not especially prosperous area where you have quite good amenities. It's quite central, and therefore you have a high proportion of privately rented. Very low social rented, which is also a good thing. And the economically active, well, this is census data 2011, 77% good. Basically, it's just a solid higher end or kind of solid working area. Now, if we zoom down into the crime, because this is quite important data. So on this, I did a lot of work on crime data recently, and I've uploaded all crime for the whole of the UK for the last 3 months onto the system, and it'll give you an idea of what's going on. Now, overall, having studied these kind of maps for a long time now, I would say it's not low crime, it's low-ish crime. So yes, there are issues here, but there's nothing alarming. Where I get alarmed with crime is if I see, for example, like take this one. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing here that really strikes me as serious. What can be serious is if you have like 30 crimes in a little patch, then you know something is really gone wrong. But this is about right for this kind of area. I mean, I'll just randomly pick another area here. You know, that's a bit higher because it's high street crime, but 1 of 6, it's acceptable on crime. Okay, so the next question is the capital growth and the rent and sales turnover. So if you know that we have data on this, and to explain, this is long-term capital growth going back to 2007-8 to 1920-21. The upshot with Liverpool is that, as I've always said, capital growth is really quite mediocre. However, what I've learned from dealing with you collectively, the Hong Kong crew, is that you really care about yield. Because I guess yield is like it's something that's in your hand, you know it's cash generative, and as long as capital growth is acceptable, great. But, so I understand that. I personally am not a fan of Liverpool, I've got to say, and I've said this repeatedly, but if you like HMOs and if you like high yielding, this kind of works fairly well. And I'll explain why. The first thing is that there's a very high rental turnover in this area. And what that tells me is that, and just to explain the number, 89% means that 89% of properties that are up for rent will be rented within a month. So that's very good. Sales turnover is high. That is 35% of all stock that's put on market is sold within a month. So it's competitive around here. If we look at this one, if we go a little further north, 76%, 21%. So this is a very strong market. Now, we don't have rental turnover numbers here. But what this tells me is that if you average this lot out, this is a property that will just rent easy and it'll sell quick. Just to give you a little context, perhaps, if we look at, say, areas like M28, which M27, areas that I really like, you can see here 62, M25, 100%. So the rental market in this little patch here is hot, and therefore it to me, it works. Now, the other thing I forgot to do is actually go down to street level in this. So let's just do that right now. What I want to do is just show you basics, which are important. Now, these pictures were taken in 2017. So what you're looking for, as ever, are modern cars. So this would be cars on finance, essentially, or just modern vehicles. And the upshot is that it's got reasonable cars. It's a decent street, like properties are in reasonable condition. It's all relatively good. So this is number 6. Where's number 8? Is this number 8? I was trying to find that's number 4. So number 6, number 8 must be this one here, I guess. I can't see a number, but let's assume it is that one. I think it is. Anyway, the other thing to note, by the way, about these properties are, if you look at the fancy brickwork, that's an interesting sign. So what that tells me is that when these properties were built, they were kind of middle quality properties. After all, if it was a budget property, they wouldn't have spent the effort trying to do the fancy brickwork, would they? So it's a nice property in good condition, or good rentable condition. Now, for comparables, these are properties in the area. Now, this is quite a nice 5-bed, and this one was sold for 250 or 240, should I say. It needs some work on it, and it is a nicer house than the one we've been looking at. Here's something a bit more modern, and this one was 230, again, pretty nearby. And now we're getting kind of closer to the mark. So this one is 5-bed. Yeah. And again, 190, reasonable. 4 beds. And this is now a comparable, nearly a direct comparable to what we're dealing with. And that's 169. So I don't know exactly when that was sold. Sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit, but there's a couple of other basics before I forget and before we finish. One is capital growth, short-term capital growth. Now, it's been very good, is the answer. 23% jump. This data is probably a month old, month and a half out of date, but the fact is it's been vibrant. The local market's been incredibly strong short-term. Longer term, not so much so. So if you follow me on the whole thing of the 18-year property cycle, then you would say that if this area has done all right in capital growth short term, so if we go further west, for example, you can see it's a bit patchy actually. CH41, 14%. That hasn't done well. That's -1%. That's 8%. And that's 35%. And I can kind of see why, because it's closer to Birkenhead. It's about 2 miles, say 2 kilometers from Birkenhead, and it's got good amenities. Okay, I hope that's helpful, and thank you very much. And if you're interested, please message me. All right, thank you very much.